It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Jones, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about anxiety and how you can help your teen deal with anxiety. Now, I'm saying teen, but also it may be someone who is not a teen, it may be a young adult, because we're focusing specifically on Gen Z. Generation Z. Um, these are folks who were born in the early 2000s, all the way up to about 2012, 2013. Those folks are considered to be Gen Z. Now, Gen Z is a very interesting generation. They are our first generation where their complete life, their complete existence involved the internet being there. And not only the internet being around, but also access to the internet at a very early age at their developmental stages. Also, social media has been a part of their life from the very, very beginning. And you may think, what does it have to do with anxiety? Why is that even important? It's important because of this. The internet has created a different way of socializing. Just like during the pandemic, we had to re-socialize ourselves given the nature of the of COVID-19. We had to do things a little differently. And what the internet did was it re-socialized us as well. And one of the ramifications of social media, instant access to information, a lot of instant gratification, one of the things that we have gathered from that has been this emotional and mental health response. It's very evident. It's been very clear. It's been pointed out by many different professionals, and it's seen that that it's taken place. The internet has had a impact on our mental and emotional health. There are positives, there's not just negatives, but these are the things that we have to pay attention to as parents, caregivers, and youth workers when it comes to young people. And one of those detrimental impacts of the internet and Gen Z has been this explosion of anxiety. Now, I don't think it's all the internet's fault. I also think that we have grown with our mental and emotional health awareness. 15 years ago, talking about mental health openly was very taboo. People were afraid to even share that they've been to a therapist or that they take medication. In today's world, that's not necessarily true. People will lead with, hey, my name is Samantha and I have ADHD. Or, hey, my name is Paul and I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. These are not uncommon things to hear from people that you may meet casually in your day to day life or you may even run into online. And with that has been this openness about the experiences that people have had. Now, one thing I want to say about anxiety before we dive into the article that I pulled as a reference for today's podcast is that we all have anxiety. It is a normal part of human existence to be anxious. Anxiousness is a part of our life. It's just what happens. Sometimes we get a little anxious. Anxiety becomes a huge problem for a lot of people when it gets in the way of doing the things that you want to do or doing the things that you need to do. All right. Let me say that one more time. Anxiety becomes a problem when it gets in the way of doing the things that you want to do or doing the things that you need to do. Anxiety is a spectrum. Some people have higher levels of anxiety than others. Some things lead to more anxiety for others than for it could be the same scenario. For example, let's use something like going into a bank. Now, you may be thinking, why would that cause anxiety for people? Well, there are some people who have social anxiety, and going into a bank, it's a quiet atmosphere. You have to typically, you're walking in to talk to a teller. You have to stand in a specific area, wait to be called on. If this is your first time or you haven't been in a bank many times, you have to know what you're doing. Like, banks don't have instructions. Like, you just walk in and you're supposed to know what to do. But if you're a young person and you never cashed a check before, let's say you got your first paycheck, you need to cash it, you're opening up a bank account, you might not know what to do there, right? That can lead to a lot of anxiety for an individual. It's quiet, there's a lot of different things there. But for some other people, it could be a breeze. Just walk in, do your thing, get in and get out, knowing no anxiousness at all. Being on the elevator is another example. Some people have a fear of heights. Some people don't like the motion of an elevator. Some people don't like the enclosed space. Some people don't like to share elevators with others. Think about, have you ever been on an elevator and let's say you got on first and then there was plenty of room and somebody walked up, they kind of glanced in and then they decided not to ride it. Now, that may be anxiety there. You never know. Or you can be like, oh, that person doesn't want to be around me. They don't want to be around the person I am or whatever. But it could have been anxiety. Maybe that person needs to ride the elevator alone to feel comfortable or to feel like their anxiety is at ease. So there's a lot of things that can take place when it comes to anxiousness and anxiety. But I came across an article, of course, like I always do, that talked about Gen Z and this kind of overwhelmingly responsive anxiety that this particular generation has. And there's no secret that anxiety has become one of the defining mental health challenges for Generation Z. And this article was in the Rolling Stone. And what the Rolling Stone said was what they did was they looked at how teens and young people navigate panic attacks, racing thoughts, and consistent worry. Those are usually your three core symptoms of high levels of anxiety. When you have those racing thoughts, panic attacks, and consistent worry, usually you're kind of flirting with the diagnosis of at least generalized anxiety disorder. So often, without a sense of stable early generations, let me back up. Often, without the sense of stability, early generations could lean on, right? So Gen Z doesn't have the same level of stability. They don't have the same level of approach to life like generations before them have had. So this generation's kind of left with figuring things out on their own, right? That's one of the ramifications of the internet. You hit a button and get an answer. You ask a question to whatever device, Alexa, Siri, whomever, you get an answer. That's not how it used to be. You had to go find your answers. In today's society, the answers are right there in the palm of your hand or right there available at your screen. So for parents, caregivers, and youth workers, it's important that we question if anxiety shows up, how can we meet the demand of the anxiety with compassion, with care, and with the level of concern where it doesn't overwhelm the young person. And that's what we're going to focus in on for our strategies for today. So it's important, number one, to understand what anxiety really is and not just what it looks like. So again, anxiety is the body's natural alarm system. It's just what keeps us going. For Generation Z youth, the alarm system is rarely turned off. Sorry, it's rarely turned off. So what does that mean? A lot of times Generation Z is on high alert. Right? They're ready for something to happen. And unfortunately, we live in a society where, again, that access to information creates that level of concern where you're seeing a lot of, I mean, we've had school shootings, we're having riots take place, there's economic shifts and turns, there's fights that they have access to that they can see at any given time. Like the anxiety is just kind of built in. So that level of alarm is already ready to go. It's like the alarm is set because this society that we live in has so much stimuli that it's very easy to get anxious very quickly. So these young people may be dealing with also academic pressures, climate concerns, political unrest, social media comparison, all these things. And again, it's typically on a 24-hour news cycle. At any given time, you can connect to a device and get access to what is going wrong in the world, what's happening in the world, etc. So for parents and caregivers, oftentimes we get tired dealing with this with young people. We get fatigued, right? We get irritable. We want to avoid it. And sometimes we even assume that their inability to shake it off is laziness or even defiance. They're not listening. They don't care, right? They're being lazy. But in reality, a lot of teens are just overwhelmed and they're trying to protect themselves and their emotions from the overwhelmingness that's going on. They're overloaded with just so many things. Another important thing to keep in mind too about adolescents and Gen Z and these young people is their brains are still developing. So even within dealing with all this, their brains are still trying to function in the society. They're growing up way different than many of us did, and that's okay. But we have to be honest about what we're seeing and what we're dealing with. We also have to recognize the digital load. What do I mean by that? The digital load is how much media we are consuming. There's a lot. Smartphones, consistent notifications, online performance culture, all those things amplify and support high levels of anxiety. All of them do. The average teen checks their phone 100 times a day, according to the article in Rolling Stone. The average teen, that's the average, it's mid range. The average teen checks their phone 100 times a day. Each ping triggers a mini spike in their stress, right? Oh, who's saying something? Oh, who's that? Oh, look at this email. If I'm honest, I have the same response. There's sometimes I'll get a message or email from someone. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to talk to this person, right? I don't want to hear what they have to say. I get a text message. Oh man, the stress is already there. I haven't even read the message yet. Then I read the message and the stress just compounds. Or sometimes I get relieved, but usually I already kind of know what's coming, right? Same things happens with our young people. So one of the things that we can do to kind of work through this is we can do what a lot of parents are starting to call tech curfews, where they end up taking the devices away like 30 minutes before bed. I have implemented this in my home. I always set a tech curfew around either 7:30, or 8 o'clock, depending on the day and what's happening the next morning. I usually disconnect the devices about 30 to 45 minutes before it's bedtime, and that's just to help my children's brains ease into their sleep. And it's been a huge benefactor in my home. I think a lot of times they want more screen time and they're mad, but we've really worked it into the culture of bedtime where you're turning your device. They have to put their devices on airplane mode. They have to plug their own devices in, and then they this is like a turn in. That's how we do it in our home. Now sometimes it may be a little hypocritical because sometimes I'm still on my device, but typically that disconnect is a big thing. All right. The other thing that I'm going to mention too is we have to normalize conversations, right? So silence feeds shame. So when young people believe that their feelings are too much, they retreat to isolation. Usually they just keep it to themselves. So, the breeding ground for panic and depression is isolation. We have to be able to talk to our kids about what's going on. If you notice anxiety, don't be afraid to question them on it. Maybe not in the moment, but just ask, what was that about? What was going on for you? What were you thinking? Were there any concerns? Were you worried about anything? I noticed you're a little jittery, or you were sweating, or you seem really anxious there. Like, it's okay to ask those questions. It's also okay to ask questions for when they're calm as well. What keeps you calm? What keeps you going? So making sure that we just normalize the conversation around anxiety, make sure the conversation's open, try to be as consistent as possible about anxiety and how a lot of times when we have too much anxiety, we kind of lose control over ourselves. And also make sure you normalize that anxiety is something that all people have. It's not just isolated to them. Sometimes they feel like they're the only ones struggling with that condition. The next thing that I think is important to do is to teach grounding and regulation. Now, a lot of parents don't know these, skills and tools and these breathing things. You're going to have to go find help on those. And there's tons of videos on YouTube, tons of things on TikTok to help people calm their anxiety. Just go ahead, put in a search, how to calm your anxiety. You're going to learn about a lot of relaxation techniques, a lot of breathing techniques, etc., to help you. Sometimes journaling is a good thing as well. Weighted blankets or clothing also can be helpful to help people. And then always breathing is your natural built-in method to calm yourself and calm your body down. And then the last thing that I will mention is that with calming yourself down, the last tip is, and that's really to help the young person calm down, but for you to model behavior. Now, I know I say modeling behaviors almost every podcast, and I'm trying to hit a message here. It's important to model the things you want the young people to practice. It's very important. So modeling the behavior is going to show that, hey, dealing with my anxiety, dealing with my issues is something that I can do and I have control over, and I'll do my best to maintain it. And if you can do that, and if you can practice and help those young people practice, you'll get a long way with dealing with anxiety. Anxiety is not going to go away, right? Praying it away or wishing it go away is not going to happen. But responding to it in a healthy manner is the key. So Gen Z isn't broken. These kids are not broken. Some of them are struggling, let's be honest. But broken, not necessarily. They're responding to the unpredictable world that they live in. And honestly, their nervous systems are really what's responding, and they're wired for survival. Anxiety is a signal flare, it's not an identity. And as parents, caregivers, and youth workers, our role is to create conditions where calm, safe, and connection can be possible for them, right? We always want to try to make sure we keep that hope and possibility there. That begins not by demanding resilience, but by building it together. So make sure that you're practicing good, healthy skills, and you're encouraging them to the young people in your life as well. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's podcast. This is It's Not Your Fault, a Team Mental Health podcast. I want to encourage you all to take a healthy look at anxiety and not be scared of it when it shows up, but just be prepared to respond and to maintain it as best as possible. If you like today's episode, there are 3 ways you can connect with us. The first is on our Facebook page. All you have to do is search It Is Not Your Fault in the search bar on Facebook, and you can find our page. You'll get healthy tips like what I shared today, previous episodes, and a lot of good resources right there on Facebook. The second place you can connect with us is on my personal website, jegna.org. That's JEGNA.org, JEGNA.org, where you can reach out to me, ask me questions, send me articles, all those good things right there on my personal website. And if you like me, there's a good chance that you're going to like the other folks on the podcast network. We have a plethora of amazing podcasters right here on the network. That network is ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com, ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Go ahead, hit that link, go there to Shaletta Makes Me Laugh and subscribe to all the podcasts, because we're here to help as much as we can. We all bring different perspectives on things, but they're all constructive and they're here to help you move forward in life. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you all for checking out the podcast. Please come back next time. And in the meantime, be safe, be constructive, be well. We'll see you soon. Take care.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
To keep my home running smooth, I count on Xfinity Internet. With 99.9% reliability, we're all online at once. No slowdowns. The Xfinity app lets me manage our Wi-Fi and keep things secure. Xfinity makes it easy.
When she walked in on her first day at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas, she didn't know a soul.
I'm Zion, and I'm a second year at DFC.
A year later, and so many changes for Zion.
I love my friends here. I couldn't do anything without them. We support each other all the time.
At Doherty Family College, Zion also finds support on the academic side. Like all DFC students, Zion can count on a team committed to her success. Doherty Family College is Minnesota's affordable private college option. DFC students earn their associate's degree and then can transition to a 4-year college or university for their bachelor's. Many are students of color or first in their family to go to college.
It's nice to see people that look like you pursuing an education, wanting to succeed academically.
Zion encourages any high school student looking for a college home to do what she did and apply to Doherty Family College.
All the support you could need is here.
Ready to make your move and experience Doherty Family College for yourself? Then schedule your visit to the Minneapolis campus at dfc.stthomas.edu/visit.